Live little lesson here. You can see I've got a cut that was done previously, just a beautiful little textured graduated bob on a really beautiful hair color done by our good friend Lupe Voss. So I was just looking at some of the mannequins that we had and thinking, well, you know, I like this cut when it was done, but what could I do to kind of change it up that would be fun and interesting and that I could do dry? So I'm doing this little creative detailing where I'm taking very small triangles on the surface here above the round of the head. All the shape below the round of the head is kind of exactly the way I want it to be. But originally this haircut was meant to be more kind of top heavy. Well, what if I wanted to just change that? You know, maybe without changing the bottom too much and just expose some more of that color. As you can see the difference already there of using this slicing technique on the surface of the hair, using a little bit of a dry wax. No, this is actually dry wash from Paul Mitchell, so a dry shampoo spray to bring out texture. And again, you can see I'm just taking small triangles on the surface from kind of pivoting from the top of the head. And you know, this was more of a heavy, you can see it was almost like a square layered area. And now I'm just using my HB Pro dry scissor, opening and closing without closing all the way, and carving off some of the surface weight. So yes, this will leave some shorter pieces on the very top of the hair. So, you know, you have to know that. But because of the way you're moving while you're cutting, there aren't going to be a lot of them. It goes from short to long very quickly. But, you know, again, if you wanted something more basic and consumer friendly, you could just layer it like this was done here. But if you wanted to maybe push it and go a little more creative with your detailing, this could be a fun way. It could be a fun way to just change something who wants a little bit of a change. Is open to something a little bit looser, and it does kind of bring out the color in a fun and interesting way. Pivoting my way around, right on the surface, bringing that hair out. You can see, you know, by the time I get to about the round of the head, I'm not cutting any more hair off. So it's a small but very kind of impactful area there. It's going to really slim out the silhouette and add a lot of movement and color exposure, which with this beautiful color that Lupe did is a great thing. Now you notice I take these small triangles and rather than holding them traditionally, what I like to do is kind of pinch the hair. And then I want to address it so that the scissor can be coming from the top. And I'm trying to start always in the same place, just so that there's some consistency to what I'm doing. You know, you could also deliberately vary it and do some more and some less, but I'm kind of starting all from the same place, so the shortest layer is kind of the same everywhere. Now again, you're going to get some of these fun little pieces on the top, but you can see how they, you know, because they're so small, they just disappear into the hair. I think I might actually even cut a fringe on this, just because why not? Just to make the lesson a little bit more fun as I go on. But let me just kind of layer this all through. So again, you can see the difference. The side that was cut, you know, in a creative but more traditional way, and then coming in and kind of free form over the top of this side here, really opening up the cut. Gonna work the same way on this side. Coming right out. And working from a shorter point all the way through. You can hear my puppy there. I think he wants to go out. I'm gonna let him outside real quick. Go out. So Rex woke up from his nap and decided he wanted to go out. He's still being feisty, but I'll carry on. Working from the shortest point all the way through. Pivoting around the top of the head. Okay, victory. He's now outside. All right, so what am I doing? I'm pivoting from here. Small triangle. Grab that, open and close without closing all the way. Now pivoting my way around. I can see a little bit of the previously cut hair, some of the short pieces, and I'm working my way through. Really kind of makes that much more floaty and loose. Pivoting on the top of the hair, coming through, open and close without closing all the way. Pivoting that little triangle, like a little beach ball around the top of the head, and just skimming through here on the top surface. So it really is like putting kind of a micro layer in the top of the hair. Again, you have to know the hair, you have to know how short you can go, you have to know if it's going to get pokey or spiky, and then really be aware from there. Now the hair beneath it, just to make it a little bit less dense, I'm going to use kind of a controlled slicing technique where I lift that hair up, and again, open and close without closing all the way as I push through. So this is everything beneath what I just did here. So typically it's a great way to just kind of do a dry visual cut that frees that hair up. Maybe do a change on someone that you've been cutting technically for a while. Also a great way to expose this kind of block dimensional color here that was done by Lupe Voss. Controlled slicing. Dry cutting scissors from HP Pro work great for this because they kind of push the hair and cut gently. Now, because I have the mannequin to play with, I'm going to do a little bit of that here to create a fringe. So I'm going to come back through. Obviously, I don't have to do this, but I want to create some fringe or bangs here. So again, opening and closing without closing all the way. I'm doing it in a very free-form way. Using that as my guide for length. We're not going to go terribly short here. We want to be, I like the way this hair moves, so I want to be able to give it a little bit of float. So here's another triangle, opening and closing without closing all the way. And working very, very free form. It's a real kind of floaty little fringe.
I just want to take a minute and say hello to the audience. Gerard, you're getting tons of support for this quick little lesson here. Welcome, everybody. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out.
That's that old saying, don't make a meal out of a sandwich. Sometimes, if a haircut came in like this and it had just grown in for a few weeks and it looked great, but someone maybe wanted just like a little bit of a fun change, especially if they're a mannequin and they'll let you do pretty much anything you want, why not? Although many of us aren't really cutting mannequins for a living. Just working off some of these short pieces. And again, we'll come in with a little bit of this dry hairspray from Paul Mitchell. Fun stuff, just to push that hair around and bring out what we just did. I'm going to go into that fringe a little bit more. Now that I can see how it's moving. Now I'll just work right on the surface and get that just right to the eyebrow. So I kind of layered it first, now putting in the shape, while using kind of free form cutting. And you can always come back and do a little bit of point cutting to make sure you've got enough detail to make this work. Almost all of it is slicing, which is really like one of the main ways of dry cutting hair. Just working inside the blade. But of course we can always do pointing on wet or dry hair. You can do slicing on wet hair as well. But you just have to realize the hair sticks together more when it's wet. So it'll be a little bit more aggressive. Chiseling here. I'll bring a little bit of this hair forward and look at the relationship between that fringe and the hair next to the face right here. Bring some of this hair forward and I can see where the fringe is and just relate it to the hair next to the face. It doesn't have to be technically blended all the time. I think that's kind of how hair cutting has evolved. It's a visual blend. Doesn't always have to technically blend. It can, and technical blends can be beautiful, but it doesn't always have to be that way. All right, so just a little quickie, taking this fun little haircut that was already looking great, nice little graduated bob shape that I had done in the past, putting some micro freeform layers on the surface, popping in a little fringe, and then working using slicing all throughout. And we've just transformed this haircut into kind of a little fun little makeover for her. I hope you guys enjoyed that. You can check out all of our courses here on our Facebook page. Just click the live button. If you want to go a little bit deeper and get some more intense lessons, head to hblive.me. That's where we have all of our really well-documented, well-produced classes with some of the best educators in the industry.